Thank you. And we are here, the topic today is no matter what, and we have Jeff G. and Cheryl B. will be our speakers, and I think Cheryl's starting, right? Okay.
Hey y'all, I'm Cheryl and I'm an addict.
Hi, Cheryl.
Sorry. Well, just to put a little disclaimer out there, I am just going to share my truth on what no matter what has been to me. And I pray that somebody may find something in this that applies. But if, look at the similarities, not the differences. And if you're afraid of the big G, just to put it up front, it's been a big part of my story, so it's going to be there. First thing I got to also say is I need to just thank the committee and the region for asking me to be a part of this beautiful thing, and to everybody that has just given their service to carry that message of Narcotics Anonymous, that everyone can be exposed to this beautiful thing that we have all been blessed to have. All right, so no matter what's that? Let me just start by saying all right, so I said I'm an addict, right?
Yes.
I definitely am an addict. Don't let the looks fool you, because that was like my game. I could let these looks and the little sweet voice fool you in thinking that this girl ain't no addict. What? She's too sweet. Oh, that's my game. All right, so this is how that's not how it started. But I'm going to tell you where this no matter what started becoming a big thing in my life. The day that I was found out, I was at my work. And in my work, remember, look for the similarities. In my work, there's a lot of drugs around. And I like to take them. And nobody knew that I was taking them. Until one day somebody asked me, and nobody had ever came to my face and said something. All right, so that's it. Got busted. You need to go to treatment. Okay, or lose your job. Okay, so I went to treatment. How in the world are you people going to tell me how to stop using drugs? Because I've tried so many times and I can't do it. I like to see what you have to offer, because I can't do it. Been trying, been suffering. So I started getting somewhat honest, started getting a little open-minded, started getting willing. They said get a sponsor. I got a sponsor, started working some steps. As I'm working the steps, I did not have a concept of a higher power. My feelers were out, seeing what everybody else was using, trying to figure out what was going to be my higher power. But it was really simple. It just had to be something that was loving, caring, unconditional love. That was simple. I tried to overcomplicate the hell out of it. So I'm working with a sponsor, and I'm sharing, like they say, sharing, get honest and everything. And I'm talking with a whole bunch of other people, and they're sharing, and we're all realizing all the craziness that we have been through, all the times that we should have been dead but didn't die, so many times that we could have lost everything and somehow didn't. Then we started realizing that there was something wanting us here for some reason. And I had to hear that from other people too. That's why it's important to share. To help validate the thoughts inside your head, or either to discredit the lie that I want to believe. So as I'm working with my sponsor through the steps, she starts, we're talking about, the fact that something wants you here. Something has kept you alive all this time when I could have so died in so many situations. And that's when I started thinking about back to that day that I was talking about when I got busted. When that I was confronted, the person asked me if I had taken drugs. And in my mind, there was a voice. And I thought it was the conscience, whatever. And it was, here's your lifeboat. I say that real calmly, but I was freaking out. I was so scared. What the hell? I'm being busted. Oh my gosh, is this it? No, I'm going to lie through this, because that's what I do. I lie, and I keep it covered up. But there was this voice that said, this is your lifeboat. You got to jump on it now or you're going to die. I mean, I'm not lying. That voice was so clear. It was so clear. I don't know if any of y'all have ever had that happen to you, but it was so clear, and at that moment, it gave me the courage to just, we need to go talk to my supervisor. And that's when I said, I've got a problem. Okay, drug test, call your husband. What? Go to rehab, what? Okay, so there. So as I'm working through the steps, that's when I start realizing what that voice was. That voice was that higher power that I choose to call God, helping me out. No matter what, you see? No matter what, my higher power was always there to help me when I couldn't help myself. The times when some of y'all have heard my story, when I threw myself down some stairs to get me some drugs. That's some insanity. I could have broke my neck, could have killed myself. I ain't lying. I threw myself downstairs, cement stairs. No matter what, my higher power had me. When I'm driving high as a kite with my children in the back seat, no matter what, my higher power had me. And I just didn't realize it. But when I started working steps, I started seeing that. And the fact that I was important enough to be saved no matter what, I started having a little more worth for myself. So as I'm continuing through recovery, no matter what, my higher power had me. Now, I kept hearing about the No Matter What Club in the rooms, but I didn't like it because it sounded too absolute for me. No matter what, I'm not going to use. I don't know about you, but I was very much okay today, or in the beginning it was like, all right, for the next few hours I'm not going to use. What comes after that, we'll see then. And then the next couple hours will come. And then it turned into a day. Okay, well today I'm not using, that's great. So when I heard the whole No Matter What Club thing, I thought, I can't handle that. I can't make that commitment that I'm never, ever going to use again, because that's scary for me as an addict. I don't know about you. So I really relied on my higher power to get me through. During my recovery, I have seen some things that could have validated going out and using to some people. For example, I was, at one point in my recovery, I was diagnosed with MS. And I was really scared because my whole half of my body went numb, and it freaked me out. I didn't know what was going to happen, and I didn't know what was going on. And I just relied on the fact that if my higher power got me this far, no matter what, going to keep on getting me through. So that was a trying time. And then I'm going to move it on down the road a little bit. I had a old family friend pass away. It was like my best friend's little brother, and he was only a year younger than me, but died of a heroin overdose. And I started grieving. And with grieving comes some anger, sadness, and all that stuff. And I was pissed off at my higher power. Then I started acting out in recovery. You don't have to use drugs for the disease of addiction to be lit on fire. No, you sure don't. And I made a conscious decision. I can just do an 8-step on that later, 9-step on that. It'll be fine. And that people laugh because they know. Oh, but it's not funny, the hell that it unleashes. Because if y'all know the disease of addiction, once it's woken up back again, the denial is thick. Oh my gosh. I'm relying on self-will again. I was going off the deep end, but I hadn't used drugs, but I was using. And it got so bad to the point where my sponsor was like, I'm really concerned that you're going to relapse. And that upset, that hit home because I was too big in denial to realize what I was doing to myself. So it got really bad. And I finally went and, just showed up at my sponsor's house one day and just unleashed the shame and the guilt of where my disease had taken me without using drugs. And you know what? No matter what, my sponsor showed me some unconditional love. You can't get that everywhere. There's a lot of people that don't get it, that don't understand that disease of addiction and how much of a beast it is. It's a monster once it gets woken up. And all bets are off. The good intentions that I have as a person, as a human being, stealing people's medications that need it, hurting my family. So I went to her, and she told me what I needed to do, and I didn't want to hear it. I did not want to hear it because I was in denial. I didn't realize it then. Part of the things that she told me to do was to get rid of my phone. And in my generation, the phone is a big deal. It was like telling me to cut off my hand. And I was mad as hell. No, I'm not doing that. I need a phone. We'll get a flip phone. I gotta listen to suggestions. Gosh, because I know where I'm at right now. I've been here before with coming in from the drugs. I know that what works is taking suggestions. But I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But I got to. I got to stop making excuses. Which, I don't know, I've heard this about no matter what club. N is no boxes. Quit putting myself in a box, which is a box of excuses. I got to quit making excuses. Matter. Oh my goodness, I froze up. Oh, and I got a note. Because I knew I would. Matter. Make it happen. You gotta just make it happen. No matter what. Make it happen. No boxes, no excuses of, but I gotta have my phone because I gotta be able to do my work. Or I gotta be able to contact somebody anytime I can. You know, I can make all kinds of excuses with the stupid phone and all kinds of other things. And I'll talk more about that. No, and make it happen. Whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes. Who knows best? My sponsor. and my network. And then the club, consistency. Be consistent. I got to stay consistent with it. So listen, so she told me to get rid of the phone. Did I get rid of the phone? Yeah, I did. I got rid of it. How long was I supposed to get rid of it? 6 months. I got rid of it for 6 months and I was on the flip phone texting. Have y'all ever texted on a flip phone? A, B, C, D, E, F. When the sponsors be wanting to text you, and be you calling me. I'm not texting. I ain't got time. I can't, look, I'll be getting a cramp. I can't do that. You're going to have to call. So I took the suggestion. I had to stop making excuses. Did I want to do that? No. Did I bitch like hell in meetings? Yes, I did. I shared about right where I was at. You know, I try to keep it, you know, on the... I don't share too much because I want to share about what this is truly about. It's about the disease of addiction and how it just controls you. So no matter what, I got to start doing something different if I want to stay clean, if I want to keep this life that I have found in Narcotics Anonymous. Because the life that I had before I ever came into here is not what I have today. You know, when you first get here, they say, you know, think about what you want this program to do for you, and you'll be selling yourself short by a long mile. And that is so true. If I put in the work, no matter what. So that was a hairy part of my story, and it was just as bad as using the real thing. But you know what that did with my connection to my higher power? It like severed it. Not that my higher power wasn't always there for me, because higher power's been there the whole time. I separated myself, and I couldn't get it back, and I missed that because I had it. I had that, you know, pink cloud, or I had that wonderful feeling. And then when I let it go, I let it go. And I wanted it back, and I saw everybody else sharing about how happy they were in recovery, and how, you know, things were going great. And then you're like, ugh. I'm envious of that. I want that back, but I'm mad as hell at the same time. So what did I do? I had to start working the steps back over again. I had to do the same things that I did when I first came in, you know, 90 meetings in 90 days. Take the suggestions of the sponsor, get rid of the stupid phone. I was so happy when that 6 months was up, though. But my life had changed. My life had changed dramatically, and I had started coming out of that denial that I was so deep into. It is cunning. Oh, my gosh. Denial is so cunning. It just really brainwashes me. And I will finish this up.
You got a minute. You're good. Keep going. You got a minute left.
I got a minute to win it.
A couple extra.
All right. So that's what no matter what has been to me. So you see how I tried to show you how the no matter what has changed for me. You know, it felt so absolute at one time, but today it is when I am at home, I just get home from a long day. Do I want to go to my home group tonight? No, I don't want to. I really don't. I just got home. I'm tired. It's been a long day. I've been up since 4 a.m. I don't want to go. My kids are here. Oh, they're lovely. I just want to stay here and hug on them. But I got to quit making excuses, no matter what. No box, no excuses, because that's an excuse as good as it can be. It's an excuse to keep me away from coming into what really feeds my soul. And that's these Narcotics Anonymous. No box, no matter what. Quit making excuses. So and that's how I started. That's when I started thinking about what I was going to say today. It was that night I was driving to my home group, not wanting to go, and I was thinking, you know what? You just got to stop making excuses. Because do you really want to go back out? As little as that little excuse may be now, it snowballs. So no matter what, to me, is a choice that I have today that I used to not have. And I'm so thankful for what this program has given to me, and I hope that you heard something in that. Thank you for letting me share.
Now I'll give you Jeff G.
Hi, I'm
Thank
Jeff.
you.
I'm an addict.
Hey, Jeff.
And thank you, Cheryl. That was so good. And she used a cheat sheet, and I'm going to too, because I'm getting older and I don't remember stuff. you ever get, you know you're going to share, and you have this whole nice thing, you're all rehearsed, and none of it comes out, and that's okay. But also, you know, like Cheryl said, a lot of people have done a lot of hard work to make this thing happen, and I just want to express my gratitude to the committee that chose the speakers, like Cecil last night. God, was he good! Anyway, I'm enjoying myself, and I hope you guys are too. The lady who does the service here with the tape recorders and so forth came up and she said, "Well, you guys got 20 minutes each." I said, "Shit, I can't get clean in 20 minutes." So I'm going to do the best I can. And I thought, you know, as I was thinking about this subject, like Cheryl, I think there's almost like two phases where this is real important no matter what. The first phase is getting clean. And that's where I struggled probably the most. And it's where this came in as a tool. Although I will tell you, the guy who sponsored me when I first got clean made a real big deal about saying it isn't about your willpower. And one of the things I fear when people just hear this expression all by itself is that you just hunker down and make it happen. For me, that didn't work. Like Cheryl, she said she tried a whole bunch of different times. I overdosed. My heart stopped. People came and brought me back to life. And an hour later, I said, "Hey, you know, Jenny, where's the stuff?" You know, and that was the way that my addiction was. I wanted to quit, and I've shared this before. My home groups, probably all the people that are here for my home group are probably sick of hearing it. But the truth is, I smashed pipes. I tore apart rigs. I did just to get. And I said, "I swear to God, I'm never going to do this shit again." And I was sincere when I said it. I'd wake up the next morning. Not only did I not have any drugs, but I had to go cop works to get high again. So, and it happened. I was so frustrated. You know, just wanted to quit. I wanted to quit, and I couldn't. And so that's what I think I understood when they said powerless over my addiction. That part about "and my life was unmanageable" that was the greatest understatement. My life was unmanageable. Yeah. I was going to jail regularly, really didn't have a place to live, had like 2 pair of pants and a pair or 2 of underwear, and you know, begging from my parents, "Hey, get here, you better let me come back." My life was a lot more than unmanageable. It was a wreck, you know. And so getting clean, I think, you know, for me, things started to happen pretty quickly. You know, I got clean, and it's like, you know, when you come from ground zero, just having a nice meal and some clean clothes to wear is a pretty damn good thing to do. I was what a lot of people refer to as a low bottom addict. And so I think one of the things that's part of my no matter what mentality is keep trying to keep an attitude of gratitude, just being grateful for the life that I have. I love the idea about getting into a nice warm shower. I love the idea about getting in in a bed with nice clean sheets and stuff like that. Go without that for a little while. You should talk about the cell phone. I talk about levels of just existence. So that's, for me, that's the getting clean part. And the getting clean part, I'll tell you a quick little story about me. And I wasn't a guy who got one white chip. I was in the revolving door, and it sucked. I heard Cecil share it last night, and I so agree. What you guys did for me is you screwed up my using. I couldn't use, and and when you do, or when I did, I would have such shame, such guilt, and all the things that go along with knowing that you can be clean and knowing that you can have this type of life and yet doing this anyway. And so that what I finally did was, after several white chips, I did the surrender. And the surrender was about doing the whole deal. The whole deal is, you guys hear it at every single meeting, 90 meetings, 90 days, get a sponsor, get involved with a group, serve your group, serve your fellowship. I started doing that. And I'll tell you what, commitment makes all the difference in the world. A guy or girl who shows commitment to this program, does the follow through part, you're going to stay clean. This isn't one of those things where dope's going to fall out of the sky and you're going to suddenly get high. There is a cause and effect relationship here. Work your program, you stay clean. Jimmy's sponsor had this thing. Says the guy came and he says, "This program works whether you work it or not. It may not work for you." I thought that's so true, so true. One of the things that happened to me that I wanted to share was, and it really speaks to this subject about no matter what. And it was an eye opener, and I call it it's my intersection of surrender. And what it was is I was a cab driver in the city of Miami, and I was trying so hard to get clean. I didn't have a cab license. I didn't have a driver's license, but I was a cab driver. And so one night something happened, and when you get your feelings, the feelings came up, and I said, I'm going to get high. And I was on my way, and Cheryl talked about that voice that comes to you, whether it's a conscience, whether it's God, whether that spark of divinity that's within all of us. Something said to me, if you do this, you're going to die. And I was at that point where I wanted to quit, and the relapses for me were just more and more frequent, and finally heard somebody share their story, and it was so moving and so forth. Picked up what turned out to be my last white chip. That, by the way, was January the 14th of 1987. So I celebrated 30 years this past And I say that because I like to brag, but I also say that to let you know that Narcotics Anonymous works. I'm looking around here, there are a lot of people with 30, 40 years clean time. I see two of my sponsors, my ex-sponsor and my present sponsor, 39 years clean, and see a bunch of people. Narcotics Anonymous works. And that was another thing a lot of us faced early on that had been around a while, that this program was weak and that you had to go to another fellowship. We don't. There's strength, there's good recovery in Narcotics Anonymous. Anyway, here I am at that intersection. That intersection was as a northbound avenue in Miami, and on the left side there was a bar. And that was the bar that I used to go to. And I used to, whenever I drank, I would start using my drug of choice. And at that, I had what I've heard Sharon refer to and other people refer to as a sacred moment. That moment where I stopped. And I could have gone left. That's my knee-jerk reaction. But because I'd been coming into these rooms and hearing the things that I heard, I stopped. I paused for just a moment. And that was where I believe my first real surrender came. And that surrender made all the difference. That night, I both literally and figuratively went straight. And I didn't get high. I remember that was the first time that I did it. And that was, well, you know what? There is a shot at this. But I also have to honor the fact that that voice that you had talked about was present. And at this particular moment, I listened to it rather than ignoring it and just say, oh, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. So anyway, from that point on, it became a little bit easier. I think that's the first little victory. And with that victory, more victories came where I just surrendered. Man, I ain't doing this. I ain't doing this. I walked into a place, guy who was supposed to be clean, that I used to use with, we'd see one another at meetings and so forth. He was dead set in the middle of a relapse and invited me over, and I didn't know that he was. And there he was with the boys and the pipes and all that. And I said, I gotta go. You know, you don't know how my heart was just boom, boom, boom. And it's like another little victory. I stayed clean that day, so that was no matter what. I think the point that I'm trying to make out of all of that is a solid step one is a real good foundation, and I think that no matter what, maybe that little precursor to going to that place in my head where I said, I'm powerless over my addiction. I am powerless. And I kept emphasizing, the guy who sponsored me said, no matter what problem you have, steps 1, 2, and 3 are your solution. Go there. So I started doing that. So I wrote a lot on step 1. So here's my cheat sheet. The Serenity Prayer. That, I think, in conjunction with, and if that's just a little thing you hear at the meetings, and you all circled up and God grant me, and you're not really paying attention to it, but if I was going through a moment, one of those moments where something's come up and I'm jammed emotionally, and I'll tell you something, when I'm jammed emotionally, the disease of addiction had its stronghold there. That was the area where it would navigate its way into my consciousness or whatever. But with the Serenity Prayer, and when I'm saying those words and I'm actually paying attention to what they mean, somehow or another, what I get is a little bit of a sense of peace. And peace is actually the enemy to my disease. I think the more aggravated I am, the more upset and so forth, the better chance it has a way of wedging itself in. If I got peace, especially inside, the idea about getting high to me does not seem attractive at all. So I think that serenity is priceless. I think from that point on, my early recovery was a lot of conventions, fun things, meeting people, relationships that were just blooming, learning, just information being poured at me and just absorbing this stuff and having a good time. Very little after maybe the first 6 months did I think about, well, I want to get high. It was really about getting involved in Narcotics Anonymous and serving it and being a part of. Then, I think what happens is I chose responsibility. I chose to do different things with my life. My job situation, it went from a job where I had a job to a career. I went from a relationship to getting married. I went from renting an apartment to being a homeowner. All these things are responsibilities that I chose. And with that comes the things of life. It wasn't just about me and it was about relationships and so forth. And one of the things, I got married. And with that, we started thinking about having children. And with that, the fun of creating children. And it didn't go quite so smooth. And what I mean is now my ex-wife could not get pregnant. And we tried and tried and tried. She could not get pregnant. And finally she's taking the fertility drugs and timing it. Jeff, you gotta come have sex now. And, still couldn't get pregnant. And then finally she got pregnant and it didn't take. And then finally she did get pregnant. And, three were picking out baby names and painting the room, and she was pregnant. And the baby died, a stillbirth. And those are one of those things where the no matter what thing comes up. Both of us, I couldn't stop crying, and she couldn't either. And then my knee-jerk reaction was run. I said to her, let's get on an airplane, go down to Key West, and just forget about all of this. And she said, no, let's go to an NA meeting. And we went to our meeting. Our people came in. Our people hugged us, embraced us, got us through a time. It was terrible. It was tough. And I'll say, from that, we decided, well, maybe we can't have kids. So we adopted a baby, and Joy came into our lives, and she's 20 now. And that woman who could not get pregnant a year later got pregnant. And then we have my son, and he's 19 now. Another story, hopefully I'll have time to share, but hey, give me a nudge when I got 5 minutes.
Okay, all right.
I can talk. Anyways, so I think from that point forward, it was a lot about raising kids and soccer games and, the education part and all that stuff. And I kind of dropped out of service, but still attended Narcotics Anonymous meetings regularly. My service is maybe I'd be a treasurer at my home group. I wasn't doing anything with area, nothing with reading, just but still being an active member and being a parent. Being a parent was very, very important to me. And so, breezing through recovery, not a whole lot of bad shit happening. And I related a lot with Cheryl and her story. You didn't go into specifics, but I know what you're talking about. When you choose to do things. Where I saw my disease sort of manifest itself is I became a workaholic. And I also, in that workaholic state of mind, I came, like, the things that were really important to me got kind of put on a back burner. And things like, normally it could be considered like, a wife expressing concern. I saw it as bitching and nagging. and just not giving attention to a lot of things, especially my kids, just kind of like their lives. And the truth is, I was busy. I was real busy. And that job that I took required me to do. And I think in retrospect, I didn't use the power of choice. And I wished I had. But I didn't. And the bell rang, you can't unring it. So anyway, what happened in my life, I think it was smooth sailing for quite a long time. And then it was 2013, sort of like the next year and a half of my life, became like a shitstorm. That's, I guess, a good way to put it. My wife and I decided we were going to get divorced. And that, I think, it's more than just two people separating, especially when if there's a family involved. There is a whole sense of identity that is shattered. It's going from, that to just me by myself. And so that was one thing. Then at the same time that was going on, my son was getting involved with drugs. And at first it was, just a little pot, and you kind of like, no, that's not cool, it's not okay. And then we found out he was doing harder drugs. And some of the drugs that you hear about where kids die instantly, my son started doing. And so we made a decision, and it's the first time I ever lied to my son. I said, my ex-wife and I got together on a plan, which was to take him out to Montana and get some help. And when he got there, he looked in my eyes. He had a big stone in his hand. He was walking in. He looked like, if you mess with me, I'm going to smash you in the head with this. And he had hatred, deep hatred for me. And I went into a meeting that night, and I sat in my hotel room and I cried. In a bathtub, I sat there like a little kid just crying. And I went to a meeting that night, and it shows me how God works in my life. I shared about what was going on in that meeting, exactly what was going on. And there's a young man there, he's probably 18, 19 years old, and he said, it's funny, my parents brought me here 2 years ago. And he said, I've been clean now for 2 years, and it was the best decision they've ever made for me. I said, wow. So, you know how you get the goosebumps and the feelings and like, Jesus Christ, thank you. And so that happened. At that same time, I had our family dog passed away. I had to put him down. And for some people, it's a dog. No, it's not just a dog. God Almighty, the feelings that went through that whole process, and the sadness and so forth. And shortly thereafter, I got the call. My dad has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and shortly thereafter, he was in that stage was getting worse and worse. And I went down there and I just stayed with them for a while and tried to help my mom collect herself, get the family act together, establish a plan. And there he was, and he got discharged from the hospital, and we had to put my dad in restraints, probably one of the most independent, strong men I've ever known. And he's in and restraints in his bed. Why? Because he'd get up and he'd wander around and he'd drop and fall and hurt himself and so forth. And he said, "Get me out of here, get me out." So we went over there and he said, "It's too late. I shit my pants." "It's okay, Dad. Come on." My mom and I took him to the bathroom and we changed his diaper, and his diaper was on with tape and I had to cut the tape and he was moving and stuff. I said, "Dad, you got to hold still or I'm going to cut your dick off." And all that tension, he looked up at me and he laughed. And there we went. And so, shortly thereafter, and I got to tell you, that relationship was probably one of the bigger relationships that I had in this program to work on. Because we had some issues when I was young. I'll say he had a major anger management problem. I had a major drug problem. The two didn't go very well together, and we had a lot of work to do. And it worked out to where I did step 9, and I did get it together. We had a loving relationship as that all ended. No matter what, for me, has also been, I've got to point out the joy, because all this stuff is like heavy, you know. The joy that I have found in this program with different things that have happened, just fun stuff like we're having this weekend, would happen frequently, all the time. One of my triggers was having too good a time. That would, and especially early on, I'm having too good a time. How can we make this better? So there's that, and so I watch out for that stuff now. But I got to say, the things that have happened have all sort of taken care of them. So my ex-wife and I we don't hate each other. We know we have a common goal. We have children. I don't particularly like hanging out and having, long periods of time, but, we're friends. Somebody else came into my life a couple of years ago, and we've just had a warm, loving relationship. It's nice to have that. And some of the other things that my son did get out, I don't think he's working my idea of how his program should go. I'm not his sponsor, and he's got a God, and I need to turn that over no matter what. So anyways, thank you guys. My time has run out, and I appreciate y'all.
Were fabulous. All right, if time permits, open the floor for discussion. Does time permit? I have no idea.
Well, they made you have time permit.